Hey folks, Matt from artoftheimage.com. You'll remember not too long ago I just answered a viewer question in the video about whether it was perhaps best at the moment, with the state of technology and whatnot, to use one camera for stills and another for video. In other words, get the best still camera you could get, maybe a full frame Canon 5D Mark III, 5D Mark IV for stills, and a Nikon D610, D750, D810 for your stills, nice fast glass, and then something different to give you really good video. Is that the best way to deal with that? I think a lot of people are finding it is, and we have a few viewers writing in with feedback to that effect. Sully Cortez writes in, and he's a regular viewer, and he says, I use Panasonic for video and Sony for photos. Now that's interesting that Sully's using Panasonic for video and Sony for photos, because Sony, a lot of people like because they use it for both, and Sony does have some capable 4K, but obviously Sully's preferring Panasonic. George Martinez writes in and says, we use the 6D for photos and G7s for video. This is very interesting because I would recommend that setup myself to a lot of people, because if you're in the Canon system, the 6Ds with some good glass is a very nice setup for photography. And then the G7s, as I've said many times, are a very, very good, very cost-effective, very good value video setup for 4K video. So really great straddling of two systems there at good price points and providing good value. So George, fantastic idea there. Amir E says, for events, why not consider the 6D? It actually has a better sensor than the 5D and is far cheaper than the 5D III. From knowing few Canon users in the event business, all have the 6D for years now, and they don't plan on selling or upgrading as they find it perfect for what they do. I know of one who also uses a 6D as a video camera, and he gets amazing results with it. So Amir's basically saying, on the photography side, he'd go 6D versus, say, a 5D. And even people are using the 6D for video. I think a lot of people now are realizing they want 4K for video, so that's why you wouldn't use a 6D. But what you could do is do basically what George is doing. You use the 6Ds for photos, for stills, and then you use G7s, for instance, as a very good value 4K system, with the 6D could be there as a backup in 1080. So just, there's three viewers writing in that are doing exactly that, using two systems. So I just wanted to share that feedback with you. So it is a practical way to deal with it. For instance, I would much rather do what George has done, or Sully for that matter, and straddle two systems than try and use the Canon 5D Mark IV for photo and video, because it's a very crippled 4K video camera. I don't want to do all the workarounds and annoying little things you have to do to get that to be anywhere near usable in 4K. I'd rather have a couple of 6Ds for the price and a couple of G7s and some lenses. You could get all of that for the price of a 5D Mark IV. I think it's a much better way to go, as George has done. What do you guys think? Do you agree with me? Do you agree with Sully and George and Amir that, perhaps straddling two systems is the best way to go if you're heavily into photography and videography? It's not to say you can't, the GH5 that's soon to be available and is coming out, is a very capable photo camera as well for photography. And certainly if you had some speed booster adapters, you probably, for most situations, would not need any other camera than a GH5. Arguably even the G85 I'm filming this with. But what do you guys think? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Do you think a Fuji is a better way to go, an X-T2 or an X-T20? 4K, great photography? Let me know. Should you straddle? Is it a better thing to do two systems? Is there an advantage? Or would you go with a camera that can deal with both? And that obviously, in my opinion, wouldn't be the 5D Mark IV. Thanks for your feedback, guys. Really appreciate it. Good thoughts to consider here. And stay tuned. We'll be back soon here at artoftheimage.com.